Welcome to the Unhinged Vibes podcast. My name's AJ, and I'm here with...
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Coastal, a.k.a. Coast Dynasty on Instagram, a.k.a. Coastman Pat and his black and white cat. CT, are you ready to go? Let's do this.
Yes, I am. That was good. I like that intro. All right, folks, before we start, we're going to do some housekeeping real quick. So, you might have heard it from last week's episode, but we got some good news because we got Coastal over here and we got Nelson that's going to be joining on this podcast as more regular hosts, not just guests. They're not just one-timers, one-and-dones. Guess what? They're going to be here for the long shot, and I like that.
Oh, I'm super excited about this. I like to consider myself a little bit more of a national cat. I do enjoy Magic. It is probably my primary hobby at this point, but I'm going to be really excited to discuss other things with you that aren't sort of Magic-related. It's going to be great to sort of bring that up over the air. We're looking at maybe talking about some movies, talking about our other interests outside of the world of slinging cards, man. And I love it. I'm super excited. Let's go. I hope you guys join us on this journey, man. It's going to be fun.
Honestly, it's going to be great. Now, when it comes to Evan as well, just know he's on the podcast still. His life is busy right now. He's got stuff to take care of, but he will be back for the What If Part 2 review. So I believe we're on episode 7 right now. I believe there's a total of 9. So in 2 more weeks, you should be hearing Evan's beautiful voice coming in.
You do your thing, Evan, man. We're loving it. I can't wait to hear that episode as well. I'm going to try to fill the very capable boots of Evan while he's away. And yeah, I'm excited to go. Let's hear that What If episode, man, when it comes out.
Exactly. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Now, we're going to get into it. Today on this episode is a very special episode because this is actually our first sponsored episode. Now, the gentleman who is sponsoring this episode, he doesn't want to say his name.
That's okay.
Which is totally fair. He is a very good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time, a very long time. Now I'll give you some background about the man. He's played Magic before. Okay. I essentially played it since he started. He's very much into D&D. Okay. He listens to the podcast. He knows what Commander is, but he's never actually played it.
Oh, well, that's going to be interesting because this is going to be a really, really great episode for him and for other people. I've actually had this same question that your sponsors had exposed to me. I've had a couple of friends ask me ever since I started on the podcast, hey, let's bring up the topic and we'll expand on it.
Yes. So just to go into it, like I said, he didn't want to say his name, so he told me to go something stupid. So today's sponsor is Table Salt. Add this spice to your table to spice things up because trust me, once things go salty, it doesn't go back. And it's going to be a good day for this episode because, like Coastal said, we're going into how to get into Commander if you're brand new to it.
Thank you, Mr. Table Salt.
Thank you, Table Salt. Okay. Have you ever taken a shot of table salt before?
I mean, with tequila.
Okay, that's fair. That's okay. I didn't think of that. That's totally fair. I was like, man, that would be rough. I didn't think of tequila.
That's ancient history for me, but yeah, that would be the last time I took a shot of table salt.
When was the last time you took a shot of tequila?
Oh,
I think 3 years for me, dude.
I'm gonna be honest. Because tequila, I mean, I've only ever had the really cheap bad tequila that you get at a nightclub.
Yeah.
So it might have been the 90s.
No.
Yeah. I'm aging myself, but yeah, definitely.
Dang.
You get to a certain age where you're like, you know what? I don't want to drink the crappy alcohol anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the body can't keep up with how you feel the next morning. So it might have been the 90s. Shout out Scandals nightclub.
I've never even heard of that, dude. That's how that's damn.
It's a condo suite now. It's not even a club anymore. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny. Okay, so now if you're new, not necessarily to Magic, usually when you want to go into Commander, you have a pre-existing knowledge of what Magic is.
Sure.
Right? But let's say someone who's completely new, absolutely new, they got a few packs of Magic cards for a present. And they heard that this Commander format was a lot better and a lot of their friends are playing. How would you recommend someone to start playing and learning Magic?
Yeah, so basically what I like to say is Commander is a variant of Magic itself. So it would be almost like if somebody wanted to learn how to play Texas Hold'em, but wasn't even familiar with the concepts of poker itself. So they didn't know what a full house was. They don't know what a pair is. I think the best way to go right now, and it's actually an option that we didn't have when we first started, is to go on to MTG Arena. It's a new online client that is actually run by Wizards of the Coast, the people who make Magic. And they have a fantastic onboarding experience. So when you first fire up MTG Arena, it's available on both the Apple Store as well as
Google Play.
Google Play.
Yep.
So you go and you download.
It's also on PC, right?
It actually first came out on PC.
Okay.
It only very recently came out onto mobile.
Okay.
If you download that client, it asks you first. It doesn't even ask you. It immediately puts you into an experience where they assume that you have zero knowledge on both collectible card games as well as Magic itself. So it teaches you all of the very basics in terms of just playing lands, playing creatures, what your starting life total is. And once you have a handle on how to play Magic, the transition to Commanders is not difficult at that point. So I think the best part is if you've never played Magic before, is to start with MTG Arena. Because if nothing else, there's no cost to it as well. So that's something you want to look at, is the cost overlay of all of this. Because once you get rolling, it can potentially be not cheap.
Yes,
so let's get you at a point where you're happy at a zero cost first.
Okay. So now that knocks off the learning how to play Magic part. Now let's transition into Commander. How would you explain Commander to somebody who's into Magic? They usually play just the 60-card deck, or they only play Arena, whatever else. How would you explain Commander to a Magic player?
Okay, so I think the one thing is that you may hear the term Commander, and you may also hear the term EDH, or you may also hear the term Elder Dragon Highlander.
Yeah.
So those terms are all interchangeable. EDH basically just standing for Elder Dragon Highlander. So what had happened was, at the beginning of this format, which has always been a casual fan-made format, is that the commanders or the leaders of your deck would have been the Elder Dragons. That's where the ED of EDH comes from. And then the Highlander is actually the one important sort of different rule between 60 card and Commander, is that there can only be one copy of each card in your deck versus 4 copies in a 60 card deck. So AK, which is where the Highlander comes from, there can only be one.
Yep.
So
wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
really?
That's where Elder Dragon Highlander stands for.
I didn't even understand where the Highlander. I'm like, okay, is it just what they call? But I didn't know. Oh,
now
that blew my mind. That was good stuff. I didn't know that. Now you know. Now you know.
Yeah. Oh, there's one for the soundboard. The more you know, NBC.
Oh, I need. Yeah, hold on. Let me. The more you know. Hopefully, that's not copyrighted.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so maybe we won't hear that. But yeah. So basically, the biggest differences between 60 card Magic and Commander is, one, it's a 100 card deck. And then 2, there can only be one copy of each. And your deck is actually, it's a 100 card deck, but your deck is actually 99, because the Commander or the Elder Dragon is actually outside of your deck, and you can cast it at any time. So that's sort of where the consistency comes from. Is it's a lot more random chance in terms of drawing, because you do only have one copy of each card in your 99 card deck. So it leads to a lot more randomization than, say, a 60 card deck where you have 4 copies of each card. But the consistency comes in, you always have access to one card, which is why you want to build around that one card.
Now, one thing that you did not go over, which is also very important, is depending what color or colors your commander is, that is the color cards you are allowed to play. So let's say, Coastal, let's say you're playing a mono red commander. Now, mono means one.
Yep.
You're only playing a one color commander. So you're playing your red. Okay, let's say you're playing a Golden deck and it's all red. You are only allowed to play red color spells or colorless spells.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
That is a very good, important point. Yeah.
Yeah.
The color identity of your deck goes through your commander.
Exactly. Now, if I'm playing a red, white, and blue color commander, I can only play red, white, blue, and colorless. Just know that colors can be played in any deck, right? As long as you have the right amount of mana to play it.
Yeah, maybe a alternate way to say that is that if you don't have those colors in your commander's color scheme, you're not allowed to play those. Because colorless would not actually have a color definition. So
exactly.
If I'm playing a red and a white deck, then I cannot play green, blue, or black cards.
Yep. So just know that is the one thing that usually people focus on first, because for some people they like to pick a commander, for some people they like to pick a color, right? Now, segueing into this actually is, how do you pick your first commander? Now, one question I want to ask you was, what was your first commander that you built, not bought? Built.
Oh, built.
Yeah, do you remember your first commander built?
that I built. You know, I'm actually looking back at my. Yeah, the first commander I built from the ground up was Iroas.
Oh,
So it is a red white god that when he's indestructible, and when he attacks, all of the creatures that you have need to be blocked by more than one creature. They cannot be blocked by one, and they don't take damage, or damage doesn't when they swing and attack. So that's what I had built. It was very janky.
really?
It was the definition of a glass cannon. It was, oh, this is good. This is a good card. This is a good card.
Yeah.
There's no draw in it. Like I look at it now and I think, oh, you sweet summer child.
But you know what? It's the experience of building your first deck.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
so much fun. Like for me, it's refined now because I've learned over the years how to make a good deck. But my first one was Krinko. If you don't know what Krinko is a red goblin where if you tap Krinko, you make more goblins.
Yeah.
So for me, when I first started playing, my favorite color was red because it's in your face. I burn you, I hit you, I get to hit you first, right? So I'm like, let's play goblins. Goblins is fun, why not? So that was my first goblin deck, or first commander deck, and just like your first one, mine was really bad. It was kind of janky, I only maybe had half of the amount of goblins there actually was, just because I couldn't really afford the other goblins.
Yeah, they can get pricey.
So it's just like over time, I would increase my goblin collection. Like, okay, cool, my Krinko goblin deck is now better. But that was my first one, and I will never take apart that deck.
Okay.
I will upgrade it, but I will never lose Krinko as one of my commanders.
Yeah, that's actually why I'm having a lot of difficulty letting go of that. I rarely play Iros, but I've never taken him apart. And there's a lot of good cards in there that I want to put in other things, but it's just there's that sentimental attachment to it. I don't want to let it go. It sucks, and it loses every time I use it, but I don't want to let it go. I will say, though, I did not build my first deck until after I had a couple of precons or pre-constructed decks that I had bought. So my comfort level just wasn't there yet. And Wizards of the Coast does make very good pre-constructed product for you to purchase if you do want to dip your toes in and start, building your own collection.
Yeah. Now, later on in the podcast, we'll explain what a precon is and go certain routes when it comes to precons. But when it came to your first commander, why did you choose it? Did you just have the card? Is it something that you looked for? Why did you choose that turn commander?
So what I thought was, when I was looking at a lot of the commanders, so your commander has to be a legendary creature. So I was looking at these, and there was a couple of things. I had mentioned before that I had gotten back into Magic during the Theros set, which borrows a lot of its flavor, a lot of its thematics from Greek mythology. And that's just a world that interests me. So they do a lot with devotion and the worshiping gods, and how the gods are the strongest beings that are available to you. So I wanted to move in that direction, and he was the most combat-centric commander. Admittedly, I wasn't a strong Magic player, so I wanted something that was sort of easy to follow, easy to build. You just take creatures and you swing at people's faces with them. So that is why I chose Iroas as my first commander. It was a deck where I could understand how to build it, because as you develop and as you grow and as you evolve, you can start building in a lot more convoluted and a lot more complicated mechanics within your deck. I at that point was not ready for that, so I went and sought out Iroas because he was an easy to build deck.
And I think that's very important in regards to choosing your first commander. It should be something that you can understand and build around. Like if you have a commander that has, let's say, 5 different possibilities on mechanics, I would avoid that commander. I would pick a commander with 1 or 2 maximum, right? That you can focus on, and you could actually get 100 cards into that one deck.
Yeah, I think an easy way to go, and something that is not only easy to understand, but not just understanding the mechanics of it, but sort of understanding the soul of Commander and how it goes is if you go tribal, it's very easy to say like this commander is, say, a human soldier. So and he makes any human soldier you have even stronger. And if the human soldiers get together, they all become stronger. That's an easy flavor for you to understand. Yeah. And then now all you got to do is pull up, hey, what are good human soldiers? Because then it all sort of flows together, and then you understand, well, yeah, this is what I want to build. It sort of reaches out. One of the decks I have is Maronar.
Okay, yeah.
And that flavor spoke to me because I personally have a very irrational and very severe fear of rodents. Luckily for us, we don't live in an area where rats are all that prevalent.
Yes.
But even tiny, adorable little mice freak me right out. So I thought, Maronar is a commander who gives all rats that you have fear.
That's crazy.
So I thought, hey, let me take my weakness. This is my villain story.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my weakness and I'm going to cause that pain across the table by giving everybody the fear of rats.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Now, I don't think I've made a deck in regards to my fear. I don't think I have. No, I don't think I have. I like that. For me, it'd be, I wouldn't say flying, it'd be heights. So it would be related to flying.
There you go.
Right? So for me, it would be more of a theme deck where, okay, what has flying? What can I make with flying? This and that. Yeah. So when it comes to making your first commander, or at least choosing your first commander, pick something that you can understand. Pick something that it's easy for you to get access to cards, right? Yes. You don't want to be picking, let's say, Eldrazi or something that's slivers.
Slivers would be expensive.
Slivers is very expensive. Even dragons would be very expensive. So if you're going for tribal, go for cheap tribal decks. It's just your first deck. Yep. Trust me, once you make it, you're going to be making a lot more. Yeah. A lot more.
Yeah. Level yourself up to the dragons and to the slivers. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to start with goblins, start with elves. Start with all of the. Yeah. If it's in a Lord of the Rings movie, if it's in D&D, exactly, you can make a tribe of it.
Right. Even zombies would be a good one. There's a lot of zombie cards, a lot of cheap zombie cards out there, right?
They just came out with a precon of zombies.
There we go. Yeah. Now, speaking of precon, since you brought it up earlier and right now. Mm-hmm. What is a precon? Like, we all know in Magic, you buy packs, yep, right? And there's also other products that you can buy. What is a precon?
So precon is basically short for pre-constructed deck. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we're looking for is these decks. When you buy a pack, it's all randomized, right? Yep. With a pre-constructed deck, what they've done is they've highlighted a specific commander, and then they have a curated deck list that is going to be in that box. So straight out the box, it's got a cover commander, so all of the cards within that theoretically are going to work with that commander. They're all legal. They're all legal cards it's a 100 card deck. Mm-hmm. All of the cards are legal within that commander's color scheme. So It is something that you can just basically go to your LGS, go to Walmart, buy it, and then you can head down to your buddy's house and just unwrap that thing and you're ready to go. It's playable out the box.
I bought a lot of precons. And honestly, a lot of them you can literally play right out of the box.
They can. And that's sort of my biggest recommendation to anyone. If you do want to start building a collection, if you do want to start playing Commander, Wizards of the Coast does have different sealed products that are like this, that are pre-constructed with curated deck lists already. A lot of them are hit or miss. The Commander ones have always traditionally been one of their strongest products. The value is there. If you were to try to, for example, take that curated list of 100 cards that are in that box and you try to go to your LGS and actually buy each of those 100 cards, it is going to cost you significantly more than what that box is going to cost you. So even from a cost overlay perspective, it really is your best bet. It's the best bang for your dollar when you're getting started, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, when it comes to the new precon decks, they are very good compared to the old ones.
Oh, for sure.
Because we've had this conversation before, right?
I think so, yeah.
I and Coastal would actually recommend buying the new precon decks only because, one, you actually pointed this out to me. They are more focused in regards to working with the commander.
Yeah, the older ones, I've bought a couple of the ones especially from like prior to 2016 when Commander wasn't really a focus. Yeah. What they had basically used to do was there would be one cover commander, but there would actually be 3 commanders in those boxes, and it would almost be a 30-30-30 split. Like, yeah, some of the cards worked well with one, some worked with the other, and none of them you would get a 100 card deck that's playable, but it would be bad. Yeah. Now it's a little bit more fine-tuned. Like I just saw the humans, the Coven one, and that is really fine-tuned. And it doesn't matter which one your commander is; it's going to work no matter what. And so I think that if you can get one of the newer ones, That's probably your better bet. On top of that, if you look for the older ones, they're not selling for retail price anymore.
No, that is one thing about Commander products, at least the pre-cons. Yep. They start off at retail, but once people start finding out what's actually in those pre-con decks, those prices skyrocket to 100, 150. I've seen one for 179.
You know, I bought the Vampires one. For I think $40 the day it came out. I don't know if you can get that for under $200 right now.
Right?
Yeah. So it's the prices of these can sometimes get out of control. So if you can get something in and around the retail price, so you're looking at somewhere between say $30 and $60, that's probably your best bet.
100%. And usually, I'm gonna be honest with you, you usually find prices like that at Walmart, at usually grocery stores, right? Sometimes I've seen gems at LGS's, like local game stores. I've seen a few gems where, wait, it's been 2 months and this is still, I'm taking it. Yeah. You honestly, when you see a retail price Commander deck, you got to take it.
My personal experience, I'm going to suggest if you are looking to get into this, I mean, not only for just supporting your local, check your LGS first. Most of the time, they tend to have a cheaper price.
Yep.
The only time you can sort of find value is in and around 5 or 6 months after the prices have started to stabilize and normalize, and we understand what the value of each card in each deck.
Yeah.
Sometimes the LGSs might start to creep up on that price, and Walmart, if you have a Target near you, they don't care. Toys R Us.
Totally forgot about Target.
Yeah. Grand opening, grand closing.
Exactly.
So, the Toys R Us's of the world, they don't change their price.
Yep.
So you might be able to find value there, but always check your LGS first, right? Shop local, support those stores. That's where you can play, right? You can't play
at Walmart.
Walmart doesn't have F&M, right? So, definitely support your local stores when you can.
Now, when it comes to going to your local stores, these next cards you will 100% find at your local stores. And you know what? They're actually not expensive. The reason why is because they make them like crazy in all the precons. Essentially, every single precon, you will find at least one, I would say at least 3 of these. And they're, what are they called?
Leading to this formal conversation, they're basically the staples of the format. So basically, cards that you almost always are going to include in any of your decks, they are, for the most part, always included in the pre-constructed decks, which is what allows you for additional value. Because there are a lot of times where I will buy a pre-constructed deck and then realize it's not really for me, and I get bored of it. But what I can do after is I can repurpose a lot of those cards into some of the decks I do want to build after, which is why I say it's a really good place to start a collection, because if nothing else, if you don't like that commander, it'll still have pieces for you for the commander that you're going to like. And that includes the cards that we're going to talk about real quickly.
So when I say commander staples, what is the first card that comes to mind?
Soul Ring.
Yes, 100%.
Soul Ring. It's the definition, is the very definition of the format.
Wait, wasn't Soul Ring made for commander?
No, Soul Ring is actually a really, really, really old card that is actually banned in a lot of the older formats.
Really?
Because it's such a powerful card, and they never actually reprinted in any of the standard sets. I don't believe there is a legal printing of it in modern. So it's I believe even restricted in vintage. Like, I'm not a vintage guy. I'm not I don't know legacy. I don't know vintage. So my apologies to any of the players out there if I'm speaking out of turn, but I believe even in those formats, it's either banned or restricted. So, because it's just such a strong card.
100%.
And that's why it's always in any of these decks, because if you can play Soul Ring in any deck, in any game of Magic, it is a bomb of a card.
Yep. And going off of that, you literally can play Soul Ring in any deck and any commander. It's a colorless card. You can play it in any... Essentially, if you don't have one, it's because you have too many commander decks and you don't have enough Soul Rings.
Yeah, that's
essentially what it is.
That's the other reason. Like, I have a restriction on how many decks I can build, because that's how many copies of Soul Ring I have.
Right, and in order to beat that, you buy more precons.
Yeah, and that's the cheapest thing, because as we said, if you're paying $30 for a precon, I mean, it's $3 for Soul Ring. So I mean, you're basically paying $37 for the other. That's
huge
cards.
Bang for your buck right there. Huge bang, and that's only one card. That's only one card. Imagine the other ones, right? Now, I believe this next card that I essentially have in every single commander deck. I don't know if you do, but I believe it was made for commander, and it's called Command Tower.
Yeah, that is 100% a commander built
Yeah.
or a card built for commander. Just even the definition, the rules text on it itself says that it's the color of your commander.
Yep.
So
And you're going to run into a lot of these cards that have flavor for commander. You can't use them in any other format, but they work brilliantly in your commander decks. And usually they're colorless or they're land.
yeah, so Command Tower is a land, and as it goes down, you can tap it for any color that your commander that is within your commander's color scheme.
Yeah.
So basically, the only decks I might not have it in are mono colored decks because they don't need the fixing.
Yeah.
I mean, I might as well just put a basic land in there.
Exactly.
But outside of that, if I'm playing anything more than one color, it's an auto include.
It's a must-have. It's a must-have because yet again, it just helps you fix your mana base so you can cast the spells that you want to cast. Right now, a few others I have on my list are Arcane Signet, which I believe is a newer card.
Yep, Arcane Signet was introduced when Wizards of the Coast was looking to capitalize on Commander, and they tried to build a new format called Brawl, and then they introduced Arcane Signet. So now that is a card that again speaks to when we suggest that you try to find the newer decks. Since they introduced this card, this has not been missing from any of their pre-constructed decks.
Yep.
So we're already looking at Soul Ring, Command Tower, Arcane Signet. Those three cards combined are in and around $10. So that's already a quarter of the cost that that you were already going to invest in a pre-constructed deck, and they're in there. So it speaks more to how we were talking about how that is probably your best bang for your buck when you're first getting started.
100%. Now, I have two on my list that are not, they might not be staples for everyone, but for me they are, just because I always play 5-color, I always play multiple color stuff. But it is a Reliquary Tower and a Chromatic Lantern. Yet again, the Reliquary Tower is a land where you have a, what is it? You have no maximum hand size. So I can have 20 cards in my hand, sweet, right? And it taps for a colorless. And the Chromatic Lantern is literally just mana fixing. I can tap for any color that my commander can essentially have, right? So, but what are some staples that you have in your deck that you might not think anybody else has? Are there any few that you think?
Like I have some pet cards that are definitely
some pet cards.
Well, they definitely move between each of the decks. I mean, they're definitely color specific, right?
Okay.
Treasure.
Oh,
that is what you are. So Smothering Tithe, which we had discussed when we first started playing that, I was hoping to see a card that was a white version of Rhystic Study, and then boom, 2 sets later, they come out with this thing, which is one of the most hated cards.
Is it better than Rhystic Study, you think?
I think it. In terms of if you're comparing card versus card, I think Rhystic Study might be a bit better.
Okay.
But the thing that puts Smothering Tithe over the top is that Smothering Tithe is in a color scheme that doesn't have that. Like Rhystic Study, you can find a Mystic Remorse. There are definitely other alternatives to that card.
Yeah.
Smothering Tithe, there is very few alternatives in white that can do what it does.
That's funny. I did not expect any of that. You caught me off guard. But that's a good one, actually. And it's funny because you're not the only one in our play group that plays that plays Smothering Tide. Like our play group, they love Treasure.
They do.
They love Treasure. And man, it gets to a point where you gonna pay for that? No. Okay, cool.
Nope.
I get my. You gonna pay? Like it's always a question being asked, and you just always say no. And if you say yes, you're just being salty sometimes.
Well, no, but the thing is, and this is what makes Commander so much fun.
Yes.
Is that the right play is to pay for it. It's to restrict me from getting that fringe benefit. But the thing is, the second someone else doesn't, not only am I getting the benefit, but it costs you too. So now you're not just mad at me for playing that card, you're mad at the other person for making the wrong play. And you might actually be angrier at them than you are at me. And that's actually kind of part of the reason I love playing that card.
That is so funny. It's low-key diplomacy. It's very low-key diplomacy. Yep. But when done right, you can have a huge mountain of treasure on your side without anyone even knowing, right? Because half the time you don't, like, no, go ahead, take it. Yep. And next, 3-4 turns later, you got, like, how many treasure tokens? You can cast anything you want from your hand.
Yeah, we might be stretching sort of the knowledge pool of a lot of people who are new in terms of bringing up these cards. But basically, with Smothering Tithe, it is a card that will not win you the game on its own, but if you leave it alone, it is going to give you the resources you need to win the game. So it absolutely has to be dealt with, but nobody wants to be the person to deal with it.
Oh, that's so funny. I was not expecting that card to be said. That is too funny. Is there anything else that you think is a staple for your decks?
I think not so much, any of the mana rocks, right? So
yeah.
The important part, you still want, as much as Commander is a variant, there is you still want to play good, strong, fundamental Magic. So you want to, what I like to say, you want to eat your vegetables. So you want to be able to play your cards faster than your land drops, right? You want to be able to play, let's say, a 4 mana card on turn 2 or 3. You want to be able to do that. You want to be able to have that consistent draw. Like I've always said, a good way to judge how consistently you're going to win is how consistently you can have cards in your hand, because as a card, it doesn't matter how strong it is if you can't cast it.
Yep.
So a lot of my personal staples are just the boring stuff, right? Lands that tap for more than one color, signets. So basically, artifacts that tap for land or that tap for mana, anything like that. Anything that sort of just allows you to play your deck a little bit more consistently.
Oh, also one thing that I thought of was fetch cards.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? To not only just to shuffle up your deck, but also to get the right colors that you need at the right moment, right? So for me, that would be another staple for me, would be fetch cards.
Incredibly important for you because you don't like playing mono or 2-color cards.
Yeah, I think I have one or two color decks. I have, other than Crinkle, that's my old, no, Crinkle and Elves.
Oh,
Crinkle and Elves. So red and green are my only 2 monocolor decks. Everything else is 2-color. I don't have any 3-color decks. Really, it's 5, 2, and 1. That's it. 5, 2, and 1. So for me, it's the mana fixing cards.
Right.
If I can find a basic land, put it onto field, it helps me on the long run because I'm usually the guy who plays 5-color, and I'm usually either behind the curve because everyone else is playing green or getting treasure, and I'm just going to wait for my fetch land, and that's it.
Yeah, so I guess when we're looking at staples, you're looking at cards that you can plug into more than one deck if you decide to pivot away from from your original plans, because that'll happen too, where a deck doesn't fire off the way you thought, or the deck's not quite giving you the level of fun factor you were expecting. So you move on from it, and it's always nice to be able to know that the financial investment you made into these cards, they can be repurposed. So that's sort of I think what's important about those staple cards is they're not corner cases. They can be put into, a significant number of different decks and be useful.
Now, speaking of financial investment, going into something else because you want to protect that financial investment, right?
Absolutely.
Now, yes, you buy cardboard, but this cardboard is also very valuable. Certain cardboard is valuable. But what is the best way for you to protect your investment?
So once you've purchased even a pre-con, what you'll see when you go to your local LGS, or even if you play with friends, all of their decks are sleeved. So that is the financial investment in terms of just protecting your cards. So there are different brands of sleeves that you can get where you just basically have the cards protected with a thin sheer of plastic that allows you to play them without having, they're not exposed to dust, they're not exposed to sort of light liquid exposure. So there's also a concept known as double sleeving, and that's a lot of my more expensive investments are double sleeved. So to quickly sort of touch on double sleeving a card, there are sleeves available that are known as perfect fits, and what they are is they're thinner sleeves that are almost the exact size of the card. So what you'll do is you'll slide the card into that sleeve, and then you'll take that sleeved card, and then you'll sleeve it into another sleeve. And what it does is it protects not just the card, but it also protects the opening, because what you're going to do is you're going to put the inner sleeve in upside down, so that the bottom of that sleeve protects the top of your card.
Yeah. So essentially, a good ruling is, since Commander is usually a multiplayer game, and usually when you play with your play group, there will be some snacks. There'll be either water, pop, anything on the table. If someone bumps or spills or something, and you're going to get upset because your cards are ruined, that is a good idea to either sleeve. And for me, if there's any card that's over $10, I double sleeve the hell out of it.
Absolutely. Like the way I look at it is, it's for a box of 100 outer sleeves.
Yep.
You're looking at around $10, and then for a box of inner sleeves, you're looking about, I think they're about $7 now.
Yep.
At least in Canadian prices. So you're looking at 1.7 cents.
Yep.
Per card.
Yep.
Now, I look at a card and I say, am I willing to spend 1.7 cents in the worst case scenario? Which, I mean, that worst case scenario has actually never happened in my 8 years of
But it's the
Magic.
what if part, right?
But the what if.
Yep.
So in the very infinitesimal chance that this card is going to have damage possibly done to it, are you willing to spend that 2 cents?
Yep.
And yeah, I'm like we said, Magic can get expensive. I have a couple of cards that are over $100.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be upset if one of us accidentally spilled some Pepsi on it.
Yep.
So definitely, I'm gonna spend the 2 cents.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to clarify with the statement I made earlier was that when you double sleeve and sleeve your cards, make sure that they're all, if you're going to double sleeve one card, you double sleeve all the cards. So they're all uniform. You can't really, you're going to cheat if you single sleeve your cards and then you only double sleeve the expensive ones, because you'll see them bulge out a little bit more than your regular ones. So make sure if you double sleeve your whole deck and not just your expensive cards.
Yeah, so exactly. It becomes one of those things where it's, do you have enough cards in that deck where it makes sense to do the whole thing?
Yeah. Now, one thing I actually did not think about was in regards to protecting your cards was a playmat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it also adds to the flavor of it, right? Because
100%, yeah.
You can get them in different with different art, and it just helps. Commander is what I like to call an expressive format.
Yes.
So a lot of my decks, like the rat deck that I had alluded to earlier, it speaks to not just how I play Magic, but just also my personality. So that's where you get to add a little bit of flair. You get to add some of your pet cards in there. But yeah, one of the things is playmats. It does you get to sort of express your personality through that. And then on top of that, it helps protect your cards. So,
Yep.
It does double duty there.
Yeah. And it looks very nice when your whole player group has these mats and you're like, damn, the board looks real nice right now.
It does. It does.
Right? And it also helps define your play area.
Yep, for sure.
Right? I'm assuming you've had some instances where some person will take up the whole table. You're like, do I have room to play my cards?
Yeah.
So at least that mat can define your play box.
It gives you it gives you artificial borders for sure.
Yeah. But also when you fill your play box filled with cards, you're like, I got a big board right now.
One of my favorite things is to kill the guy beside me and just go, "Hey man, can I use part of your mat, because I don't have enough space. I don't have enough space for all of my army."
That's just bragging rights.
Oh, absolutely. It's
bragging rights.
Yeah,
That's good.
Table salt.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
sponsor
you.
the
Thank
show.
you for the sponsor. Thank you. All right. Now you know how to play Magic. You know what Commander is. You've figured out and decided what Commander you want to do, and you've built the deck. Now that you've built the deck, you've taken steps to protect the cards.
Mm-hmm.
You're a quote-unquote investment. Yeah. Now, where do you go to play?
All right, so you're ready to go. You've got deck in hand. Now I just need 3 people. So, I mean, the first thing I would like to say is ask a buddy.
Yeah.
If you have friends who play Commander, they 100% want to bring in other people. Because if nothing else, the more people you have in your play group, the better the chances are that you're going to be able to have enough people who want to play when you're willing to play. Like everybody has busy schedules and everybody has time restraints. So our group has, I believe,
6.
7.
7, yes.
There are 7 people in our play group. So the chances of all 7 of us being wanting to play at the same time are nil. I mean, we've seen it.
It happens every once in a while, and when it does, those are long and amazing games.
Those are great, but I mean, again, they're also memorable because they're so few and far between.
Yes.
So the larger of a play group that you have, the more options you have to have a play group when you're ready to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, just ask your friends because everybody's going to be willing to bring you in.
Yeah.
Outside of that, definitely, like we had said, visit your local game store. Visit your LGS. They definitely have a Commander night. Commander has evolved from a niche format to basically now the preeminent way to play Magic.
Yes.
And we've seen that evolution over the last few years. Mm-hmm. So as long as you have an LGS in your area, they are going to have a Commander night.
100%.
And from there, you'll be able to find other like-minded people who are willing to play, and then they're going to be willing to teach you. The one thing I will say is if you run into a veteran Commander player, they're more than happy to let you play their decks.
Yep.
And they are definitely going to have more than one.
Oh, yes.
So if there is a time where even if you're not ready to make that financial investment we were talking about, ask your friends, visit your LGS. They're going to have decks for you to play. I personally have 27 decks.
Damn.
So if anybody is, wanting to try it out, I have got your flavor ready to go. What do you feel like playing? I have got a play style for you, and we can walk and they're more than happy to walk you through how to play Commander. And you're going to have a group. Like when I first started, I did not have a play group, and a friend of mine invited me, and I said, well, I've never played Commander, but I do know how to play Magic. And they said, don't worry about it. Those guys will lend you their decks.
Yeah.
And then, the next week when I went, I had bought a pre-con.
Yeah?
So I was ready to go. I want to ask you, because we know that you started playing Magic, you started heading to F&Ms from your time after when you were at Toys R Us. How did you transition from Magic to Commander?
So actually, I actually started off with Commander.
Oh.
Yeah, so my supervisor at Toys R Us at the time got me into Magic and then got me right into Commander. It was funny because the other supervisors at the other Toys R Us's at different locations, they all play Commander too. So essentially it was me and 3 other Toys R Us supervisors or managers, and then me as the supervisor, all essentially playing with my bosses. Right. Okay. So they actually, I got my Krinko deck because I was inspired by my boss's Krinko deck. So he let me play his Krinko deck, and I loved it so much, I made my own Krinko deck. The other guy played usually mono black, and he just forced us to sacrifice our stuff until we had no board and he could swing at us. Mm-hmm. And the other guy played anything and everything. Like it was. So I did the other way around. I learned Magic playing Commander, and then after I got the hang of Commander and I got the rules, that's when I started to go to the LGS and started to play Friday Night Magic. That's when I got into Standard. I got into Draft. I even got into Cube. I wanted to make my own cube one day, but I'm like, that's way too expensive, way too much thought process. So I was like, for me, it was the reverse. Okay. I started off with the Commander, which is usually the more difficult thing than actually learning. So I started off with the Commander, and then I got into everything else. But when it came to that, like, I started playing with that play group, but then when I went to LGSs and they actually had Commander nights, I made more friends. I asked one of the guys there if I could play his Dragons deck because I was interested in Dragons. I didn't know what play style a Dragon deck would be. Do we just play big spells and hit them? But no, there's a lot of strategy to it. So he let me borrow his Dragon deck. I played it. I'm like, this is awesome. Like when you put a card down, it's a big bomb. Like it changes the board state, and it made me feel so good. I'm like, I need to find a way to get these expensive cards and make it my own.
Dragons are scarier than goblins.
Yeah, dragons are much scarier than goblins, and it's like me learning how to make a goblin deck into learning how to make a dragon deck. It forced me to learn more things, but also made me a better deck builder and B Magic player in general.
That's that evolution that we're talking about. Right? Start small and evolve from there. I love it. I mean, upward corporate mobility, right? Just playing with your bosses. Nerdiest
honestly,
game ever.
It was great because it made me get a chance to get to know them outside of work and vice versa. And it just made work that much more fun because you work at a toy store. Like, what else do you want to do? Like, either play with toys, you play with video games, you play with Magic, and it's just like, this is great.
Yeah, I mean, Magic is admittedly pretty nerdy, but I mean, it's probably the least nerdy thing you can do together. I mean, Lego would be worse, right?
Unless you're building like a Death Star.
Oh, that would be cool.
That's not worse.
I retract my previous
statement. That's a good challenge because there's how many thousands of pieces in a Death Star. So unless you're building a big thing like a Death Star or something like that, then it might be, a little on the weaker side, but building something that...
I stand corrected. No,
right?
That does sound cool.
Yeah, I've never built one before. I've never even seen one.
in person.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them at the Lego store where they have those, $600.
Oh, really?
Those are so cool. But,
Oh man,
I couldn't see
those are
myself doing
wicked
it.
sweet. Yeah, every time we would get one at Toys R Us, like it would be sold before I would get to my shift.
Oh wow!
Like there would be a list of people like, I want this Lego set, and the second we get it, we call them and they come in and buy it. So like, I've never actually got to touch a Lego Death Star in my life. Well, maybe I can go to the Lego store and touch it, but I don't think they would because it's behind the case.
Touch that. No,
it's behind the case.
No.
But anyways, is there anything that we missed in regards to new people getting into Commander?
So I guess the last aspect of it is we're in the age of Zoom. I mean, unfortunately, due to the circumstances that we're in, there is a lot of sort of we've had to evolve with virtual conferencing. There's sort of the necessity for that in the work and corporate environment has actually been a benefit to playing Magic, because there is now something called Spell Table. Mm-hmm. And if you go into a Discord group that plays Commander, Spell Table, what it does is it utilizes your webcam to do an overhead of your playmat, and then you can see the overhead of other people's playmats, and you can just have a quick 4-person game of Commander, and then utilizing Discord or other chat groups to sort of organize and set yourself up into a game. You can have a virtual game of Commander now that uses paper Magic. Because I know the one thing is MTG Arena, I like to suggest it to just get a foothold on how to play Magic. Yep. I personally don't play a lot of digital card games. I'd like to have that feeling of
having it in your hands.
I want to have it in hand. I like that tangible asset. I'm not a big NFT guy, so I like having that tangible where you can hold it, you can touch it, right? Type of thing. So this Spell Table allows you to play virtually while also having the benefits of playing paper Magic. Yeah. So there is Spell Table as well. So if you do have a webcam and an ability to situate that webcam over a playmat, you do have the opportunity to play virtually as well. We were able to take advantage of that during these times where we were able to continue playing Magic with each other using Spell Table. Like we said, it wasn't perfect, but it gave us something. So
it scratched the itch.
Yeah, exactly. So there's also that. Also, it helps you. Like my old play group, some of them have moved out of the city. So if we do want to get together, we have that option now because we can play virtually.
Yep. Just please note, when it comes to Spell Table, it only goes up to 4 players.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a play group of 7 like us, it's 4 people at a time. 4 people at a time.
And really, ideally, as much as I love when 7 of us get together for the social aspect of it, in terms of the game itself, it really is optimized for 4 people.
Yes, and fairly so, because even in person, trying to track 6 other people's board is very confusing. And when you have it on a monitor where sometimes the quality's not there or the camera's not focused, it's a little too much. So 4 people, it's very optimized. It's very good. One thing we actually forgot was you can go to Facebook. There's Facebook groups with just Commander.
There you go.
So I found a few people with Commander and then Winnipeg. Or Commander Toronto or Commander Minnesota. Literally type in Commander or EDH, one or the other, and then type in your city. And I guarantee you're going to find a group. If it's a group of 200 people, well, guess what? That's 200 more people where you can ask, like, hey, is anyone be able to play this day or whatever else? I'm looking for a new group. Always ask, because I guarantee you someone will ask you, like, yeah, come on down.
Yeah,
because we all want someone to play with.
Exactly.
We all want someone to play with.
Exactly. Anybody who is interested in playing Magic and they're in the Winnipeg area, let us know.
Yeah, we would love to have you at our play table.
Yeah.
Even if you're brand new and you're still learning, that's fine, because trust me, we're still learning a bunch of the stuff too. We've played for years on years, and we're still learning.
I am by no means anywhere near being a pro player.
Yeah, and that should be a disclaimer. Just because we are doing a podcast on this does not mean we're experts, or we are, what are they called? Rule judges. We're not judges, okay? So keep that in mind. We still get confused on certain rules, certain sequences, and we Google, we research, and we learn that way. Usually it's through, because something happened where someone played this card and this card's affected. And like, there's a lot of things going on. We're like, okay, what happens now? And that's how we learn how to play the game a lot better.
There is not a single play night where we get together and there is not at least one rules argument.
Oh,
and I'm batting maybe 50-50 on those. So that's the thing, is that we do this podcast not because we're experts, but because we're passionate about this. We
Yes.
love Commander. We want to share that. We want to share that passion with people, and we want to find other people who want to join us on this. So that is the one thing I will say, is that, yeah, don't be intimidated by
100%.
this, right? Today's Thursday. Take a chance Thursdays, man. Like, if
Yeah.
you are willing to get out there and play, ask somebody. They're going to be more than happy
Yeah.
to bring you into this world.
Yeah, and yet again, like Coastal said, if you want a chance to play with us, just send us a message. Say, hi, I live in the Winnipeg area. When you guys free to play Magic? And trust me, we would love to have you in our play group. Or if you want to try something new and you only have one deck, but you want to play goblins, or you want to try slivers or dragons, or you name it, I guarantee you, one of us has that deck. You could try it out with us. You could learn how to play it. And if you end up falling in love with Commander and Magic that way, I'm sorry for your wallet, but I'm also happy that we've gained a new friend.
Yeah, exactly. Hit us up on Instagram, man. We are more than happy to help you out with any questions that you have, or even if you want us to join your play group.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to join it, but if you say, hey, we need, we play on this day, we could use one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, give us a shout.
We're more than happy to make new friends
Yep.
and to share the table salt around.
Yeah, let's bring that positivity with a little bit of table salt thrown
Yes.
in.
So yet again, we want to thank our sponsor, Table Salt, my buddy who wants to remain anonymous but also wants to send love. So we want to thank you so much for sponsoring this episode. I hope you guys learned something from here. I know there's always going to be questions. So whenever you have a question, either send us a message on our Instagram page or comment in the section below. We will more than happy answer any and all questions. Even like if you don't know what commander you should go for, anything. Just comment, let us know. We will get right back to you. Coastal, any closing remarks before we close this thing off?
Absolutely not. Yeah, you find me at Coast Dynasty on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hey, ask any questions there. I'd love to cultivate that community. Let's bring that positivity. There are no such things as dumb questions. I have a link in my bio. You can go to powerhouse.ph/Coast Dynasty. That'll have all past episodes. It'll have links to my Instagram. I may start linking some deck techs on there. Hey, just join the conversation if you guys want to. So, again, Coast Dynasty, COASTDY Nasty on Instagram.
I like that. You can find me on Instagram at Caramel Thunder, Caramel with 2 L's. That is more of my personal page, but you can find this podcast on the Unhinged Vibes Instagram page. Our website is actually in the description on our Instagram page. Now, one thing that I want to do is, like you said, put in our deck text, put in our deck list. So if you're interested in I wonder what a good this deck would look like, or at least what a made deck of this would look like, I want to put my deck list all on that website. So if you ever want to know what I'm playing to see if I'm broke and you want to see my janky decks or whatever else, you can see it on that website. You're going to see Coastal and you're going to see Nelson's bios. You won't see their faces, but you'll get to know a little tidbit of their life in a little description. So hopefully we can expand more on getting to know them on this podcast, because trust me, I know you guys want to get to know them as much as I do.
Absolutely. And just a quick disclaimer, as he said, I will be putting up my deck text. I will not be putting up good deck text.
Yes, my and good are two different things.
Absolutely. A very important definition there.
Yep. But anyways, folks, thank you guys for listening on this episode of the Unhinged Vibes podcast. My name is AJ.
I'm Coastal.
And we will see you guys next time. Goodbye.